Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Burnley tomorrow at Goodison Park in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. Obviously coming off the back of a fantastic 1-0 win last time out against West Ham United on Sunday afternoon, and hopefully Sean Dyche's Everton team can continue the momentum and the confidence that they would have taken from that game into this one against the Burnley side, who I think it's fair to say have had a very difficult start to their season so far. A Burnley side that a lot of people actually thought would be absolutely fine this season in the Premier League. I think because of the way in which they convincingly won the Championship last season, obviously bringing in Vincent Kompany and completely transforming the football club in terms of the way in which they play, the way in which they are perceived. Obviously they were perceived very differently under their previous manager, who happens to now be Everton's manager, Sean Dyche of course, but now under Vincent Kompany, certainly last year in the Championship, they were perceived very differently to what they usually are, and the stereotype of Burnley Football Club was sort of smashed to bits a little bit because of the attacking football that they were playing under Kompany, because of some of the signings that they were making, some of the players they were bringing into the frame that were able to perform in the Championship. It has to be said, they were absolutely ruthless last season in the Championship. They really, really were, and there seemed to be this air of confidence amongst general football fans. I'm not quite sure about how Burnley fans specifically felt, because I haven't heard many Burnley fans talk about their football club, but every sort of neutral bit of content you watch surrounding this Premier League season, pretty much everybody thought Burnley would be okay and Burnley would be safe and Burnley wouldn't have any issues this season because of how well they performed in the Championship, and obviously because of the new manager and the new style of play and the new format of Burnley Football Club. But it's been quite the opposite up until this point, and I do particularly remember thinking in the summer when I was hearing a lot of people talking about the upcoming season and who they think will do well and who they think won't do well, and there was a massive amount of confidence that Burnley would be absolutely fine this season, and I wasn't quite sure where it had come from, because Burnley are not the first team to have absolutely dominated the Championship and then come up to the Premier League and struggled. Norwich have done it year in, year out. We've seen various teams in the history of the Championship, Leeds most recently, who have come up having had an absolutely unbelievable season in the Championship and then struggled in the Premier League, or been fighting relegation or struggled to pick up results. And it seems like that's where Burnley are at the moment. 19th in the Premier League currently, 1 win, 1 draw and 8 defeats. The win was against Luton Town, which puts them on 4 points after 10 games? 4 points after 10 games for them. Obviously they had a win in the EFL Cup last time out, 4-0 win against Salford City, quite convincing, but again against a side that are in a much lower division to them. But if you have a look at their form of late in the Premier League, a 2-1 defeat to Bournemouth at the weekend. I watched that game, quite controversial. They had a VAR decision in there that took 5 minutes to decide, and therefore probably tells you that the decision that was ultimately given was the wrong one, which it was, I felt. But again, another defeat, a 3-0 defeat to Brentford away from home the week before that, a 4-1 defeat at home to Chelsea. Obviously they beat Luton at the beginning of October, as I said, but then before that Newcastle beat them and United had beaten them. So, whilst they have had a reasonably difficult start to the season, having to play sides like Chelsea and Newcastle away and Manchester United at home, they still, I think, have underwhelmed for where people thought they would be or how well people thought they would do. They've got a completely different squad now to the one that they had when they were last in the Premier League. A couple of sort of familiar faces, people like Nathan Redmond. Obviously, they signed James Trafford for big money from Manchester City in the summer off the back of a really impressive Euros tournament for him. But it just seems at the moment that it's not really working for Burnley. It just seems like that transition from being able to play at the top level in the Championship and do it so comfortably week in, week out, being to transition into the Premier League and try and do similar is obviously extremely difficult, and this presents itself as a massively winnable game for Sean Dyche and for Everton Football Club tomorrow, and a massive opportunity for us, as I said, to build on that confidence and momentum taken from that West Ham game. We've got a couple of home games coming up now, and I think we can all admit and we can all agree that our home form under Sean Dyche has been nothing short of disastrous. Away from home, we are much more solid than what we've been in previous years, and we're much better and we're much more capable of picking up results, as we've seen in recent weeks. The result against West Ham at the weekend was a fine example of that. We beat Brentford a couple of weeks ago, we beat Villa before that, but at home there is still massive questions to be asked on whether or not Sean Dyche can figure out a system, figure out a style and a way of playing which is, able to consistently, get us results at Goodison against teams that, let's be honest, we should be picking up results against. I know the last time out at Goodison, we won quite convincingly against Bournemouth, and, some people might say, well, that was the last game, so we can only go on the last game, but let's be honest, we've had some really, really winnable games at Goodison this season, that we haven't won. Games like Luton at Goodison, Fulham, Wolves, etc, etc. So it is important that we start building our home form up, and it is important that we start winning games of football at Goodison Park. And although this one isn't in the league, it's obviously in the cup, it's still a game that we absolutely should be going out and win. And we talk about the cup competitions every single year, don't we? We sit down and we have the same conversation about them, and that conversation has been somewhat changed over the last couple of years, because it's typically, and I've sat here on this channel before numerous times and said, Everton are not a football club that are in a position to be able to disregard either of the domestic cup competitions. We're simply not. We're not a football club that can sit here and say, we don't really care about the FA Cup, or we don't really care about the Carabao Cup. We just want to focus on the league, because that ultimately isn't suitable for Everton Football Club. We are a huge football club who hasn't won a trophy for decades, and therefore every single trophy that we are in and every single competition that we can compete in, we should be wanting to win. We're not like Manchester City, who are guaranteed to win pardon me, are guaranteed to win a title every year or a domestic cup every year. So if you get knocked out of one of them, it doesn't really matter, because the likelihood is you're going to go and win another one. We're not like that. We're a club that have been starved of success of late, and I'm 25 years old, celebrating my 25th birthday on Friday, and I've never seen Everton lift a trophy. So I've always been very consistent in the message that Everton Football Club should be going out every single season without a doubt and trying to win both of the domestic competitions and putting out strong sides in both of the domestic competitions, regardless of who we're playing, whether we're playing a lower league side or whether we're playing a Premier League opposition like we are tomorrow. However, like I said, that conversation has slightly shifted over the last couple of years because of the relegation battles, because of the position that we've been in the league come the end of May. The conversation has often been in January, are we better going out the cup so we can focus on our league form and we can ensure that we've got no distraction leading up to really, really important games towards the end of the season. And I'd be lying if I was to say in the last two seasons, I remember us playing Manchester United in the FA Cup, was it, or the Carabao Cup, one of them cup competitions last season, and we played obviously Palace a couple of years ago under Frank Lampard. I would be lying if the thought didn't come across my head as to, well, we really should be focusing on the league and we really need to be focusing on winning games in the league. Is this just a distraction? However, I don't think that argument can be applied this season, not only because we're only in October now and we're still in the earlier stages of these competitions, of course, and I'm sure when we played in October last year in the Carabao Cup and the season before, I wouldn't have been sitting here saying, let's not worry about this one too much because it's a distraction, because obviously we never envisioned that we'd be in another relegation battle, and I don't envision Everton will be in a relegation battle this season, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Touch wood that we aren't, but I think we'll be far away from it this season, I really do. Not far away as in the top half of the table, but I think we will be comfortably safe coming into the last few weeks of the season, because I just think there's other teams in the Premier League that at the moment are significantly worse and performing significantly worse than what Everton are. Teams like Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United, I think Bournemouth will really struggle this season. So that sort of puts on more emphasis on the cup competitions, and this game tomorrow is a massive opportunity for us to go out at Goodison Park, win the game, and not only, as I said, build that momentum and confidence from Sunday's win against West Ham, but also sort of start to build up the winning form at Goodison Park, because it hasn't it hasn't been there recently, and that hasn't been good enough. But it also presents itself as an opportunity to progress in a competition that could become very, very winnable. There's a lot of games that will be played over the next couple of days in this competition that will be between sides that, if Everton were to be drawn against one of the sides in question, I would be quite confident in us going into that game. And, you know, if we win tomorrow, we're only a couple of games away from, you know, a semi-final, and if you can get a couple of nice, comfortable draws, you might get, you know, another nice draw in the semi-final, and then all of a sudden, although there is still top teams in it, and this competition has been won generally by one of the top 6 teams, you know, more often than not Manchester City over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years, but that isn't to say that there won't be an opportunity this season. That isn't to say that this won't be the season where, I don't know, maybe somebody from the Championship gets to a semi-final, and maybe a lower level Premier League side gets to the final. So if that is the case, we want it to be Everton, of course, and as I said, tomorrow presents itself as a massive opportunity to progress into the into the next stages. I think Everton should do that. Don't get me wrong, I think the manager will make changes. We've also got a massive game against Brighton at Goodison Park on Saturday, and that again is one that presents itself as an opportunity for us to pick up 3 points where we maybe didn't think we'd pick up 3 points, and that can then ultimately make for the points that we lost early on in the season in the games that we should have won, i.e. Luton, Fulham, Wolves, etc. So I do think there will be changes tomorrow to the team. I do think Sean Dyche will move some things about. I think he'll give some players a go, and we'll go through our predicted starting 11 in just a moment. But in terms of going out there and winning tomorrow, I think that has to be the only option. I think losing at home to a side that have only won one game this season would be, one game in the Premier League, would be catastrophic and would almost undo all of the hard work of the last few weeks. I know obviously we had the defeat to Luton, but I feel like we can all sort of move past the defeat to Luton because of the results that have surrounded it. The Merseyside derby is one that, again, pretty irrelevant given A, we were cheated out of it, and B, we were playing one of the best teams in the league. But the other results that surround that Luton game are, you know, a win at Brentford, a win at Villa, a team that I've only lost once in 10 months at home, and it was against Everton. We obviously beat West Ham at the weekend. We beat Bournemouth really convincingly last time out at Goodison Park. So, you know, a loss tomorrow would almost put a halt to that good form and good feeling and sort of good atmosphere around the certainly the playing side of the football club at the moment. So that's why it is so imperative to win. And if we win tomorrow and we do it comfortably, then we go into that Brighton game much more confident than probably what we are now. In terms of team news, I do expect the manager to make changes. I think we'll see certain players rested. I think you might see players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin rested. You might see players like Jack Harrison rested, given he's only just coming back from a sort of long-term injury. Who will replace those players is a different question, isn't it? And I'm sure we can guess at who it might be. We can guess it might be Beto replacing Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We can guess it might be, Danjuma replacing Jack Harrison. But ultimately, we won't know until that team news comes out tomorrow evening, and we see who's in there. Interesting choice from Sean Dyche to bring Yusuf Chamiti on Sunday as opposed to Beto to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I thought that was quite an interesting one. I didn't read too much into it, but I did ask the question when I seen it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who he picks, because I do think this is a game where we have to go strong. I do think he'll make changes. As I said, we've got a massive game against Brighton at the weekend, which again you would expect to see our full sort of starting 11 in. Dominic Calvert-Lewin back in there. Is it a risk to play someone like Dom twice a week? Maybe. So I do expect to see changes. Let's move over to Fan Hub. If you haven't checked out Fan Hub, it is the top line of the description. Go and click the link, download it on your iPhone or your Android or whatever. If you use the code THE-UBP, you can get on the app straight away. Saves you waiting in a queue. As you can see by the app there, you can do your predicted starting 11, which we will be doing in just a moment. Please do go over and follow us there at the Mighty Blues. The 2 people that are currently following me that I don't follow, I will follow you after this video. I'm following everybody over there. Go and give us a follow. As you can see, I've explained the app a couple of times before. You can check in at stadiums if you are going to the match tomorrow. So I will be checking in at Goodison Park. You can also check in remotely if you aren't going to the app, and you will still earn points based upon that. As you can see, predicted the starting 11. We'll do that in a second. Let's predict our fives first, which is 5 fixtures that you can predict. If you get them right, you get a certain amount of points. If you get a couple right, obviously the points are less dependent on how many you get right. If you get all 5 right, then you get maximum levels of points. So this obviously is for today. I think all of these games are today as of recording. I'm going to go with Middlesbrough in that one. I don't know much about either of those sides, I'll be perfectly honest with you, or their form at the moment, but I'll go with Middlesbrough. I'm going to go with a draw and going to penalties for that one. I'm going to go with Morecambe for that one. I'll go Derby for that one, and I'll go Lincoln for that one. Let's get that saved. Go and download there and get your predictions over as well. And let's get into our predicted starting 11. Then, as you can see there, I've got a super sub bonus and a booking bonus. If I pick a super sub, as you can see, it says if you select a player that comes off the bench for your team first, you'll get an extra point. And then the booking bonus, if you select a player that gets a red or yellow card at any time in the match, you will get an extra point. Brilliant. So, let's get straight into it then. Goalkeeper. Now, typically in football, and this is typically the case, certain managers, and we've saw it numerous times over the years at this football club and numerous times over the years at other football clubs, will maybe choose their second string goalkeeper in the Carabao Cup, or in any sort of cup competition. Teams that are in Europe often choose their second string goalkeeper in Europe, or in the FA Cup as well. And I suppose the big question is, will Sean Dyche do that tomorrow? Will Sean Dyche go with João Virginia in there? Or will he stick with Jordan Pickford? For me, I don't really see a massive necessity in resting a goalkeeper. I don't think there's many sort of physical benefits in resting Jordan Pickford. By that what I mean is, I don't think Jordan Pickford will be any less fit on Saturday if he plays tomorrow or if he doesn't play tomorrow. And in order to be able to drop Jordan and bring in João Virginia, I think the gap between Jordan and João Virginia would have to be fairly close, because we are still playing a Premier League side, and it is imperative that we don't disrespect Burnley, because they can play good football. They have got good players. They have got clearly a decent forward-thinking manager. It's just not quite working for them at the moment. So for me, I'm going to go Jordan Pickford. I do think the manager will go quite strong. I don't think he'll particularly go with the same starting 11 that played at the weekend, but I still think he'll go strong. So Jordan Pickford in goal for me. Left back, I am going to go... Was that right back? That's right back. Left back, I am going to go with Vitaly Mykolenko. I think the only other option to put there would be Ashley Young. Maybe Ashley Young will get a go, because maybe Mykolenko will be in obviously the idea for the team against Brighton on Saturday. So therefore, maybe he will give Ashley Young a run out. But for me, I'd still have Mykolenko in there. I think he's been pretty faultless of late, and I think it would be quite harsh to take him out of this team, even though it is a cup game. I still think he deserves his opportunity. Centre-backs then, I do think we will see changes. I'm going to go with Jared Branthwaite, and I'm going to go with Michael Keane. Again, this is a predicted starting 11 and not a preferred starting 11. I personally can't see Sean Dyche playing James Tarkowski 3 times in the space of 6 days. I just can't see it happening. I think James Tarkowski is the type of player that would be rested in a game like this. Not necessarily to give somebody else an opportunity, but just to ensure that he's at full level and fitness ahead, obviously, of a massive game against Brighton at the weekend. I don't think there should be much of an issue with Jared Branthwaite's fitness and, him needing to be taken out or rested. I think he should be more than fit enough and more than capable enough to play 3 games in the space of a week. But I'm not quite sure that's the case with James Tarkowski. I'm not doubting his fitness or his fitness levels. I just think, we're going to see changes, and I think James Tarkowski will be one of those players that we see changed. In terms of his replacement, we only really have 2 options, Michael Keane or Ben Godfrey, and this has been somewhat of a discussion point amongst Evertonians on social media over the last sort of week or so. Who is better out of those 2? And I think the unpopular view would be Michael Keane. I think the popular view is more so that Godfrey is a better centre-back. But look, at the end of the day, whether it's Michael Keane, whether it's Ben Godfrey, I think neither of them are anywhere near the level of Jarrad Branthwaite or James Tarkowski, so therefore aren't really suitable replacements for either of those two players. However, if we are going to see a change, I think given it's Sean Dyche, I think we're more than likely to see Michael Keane in there as opposed to Ben Godfrey. So yeah, I just think Tarkowski will be taken out, and if I had to pick somebody who I think Sean Dyche would have in there, I think it would be Michael Keane. Plus, it's against his ex-club. It's almost written in the stars that he scores an own goal. No, I'm messing. And then at right back, again, this one pretty straightforward for me. Nathan Patterson. I thought he had a solid game last time out against West Ham United. Couple of hairy moments in the beginning, of course, but I think he settled quite well. And once he'd settled into the game, I thought he was absolutely fine. I don't think there was any issues whatsoever. I don't see why the manager would put Ashley Young back in there. As I said, I think a good couple of games under his belt will do him good, Nathan Patterson, and do his confidence good, do his form good, and I think if he can play again tomorrow night, put in a really solid performance, then for me that's him solidified as our first choice right back, certainly until Seamus Coleman comes back to fitness and availability. I just personally don't think Ashley Young should be playing there anymore, so I'd go with Nathan Patterson. In the midfield, I do think there will be changes. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Right, okay. I think we might. I think we'll still see Onana in there. I think we'll still see Onana in there. And then I actually think we will see James Garner and Garner Gay. I think Doucouré will be the one that's given the rest. Again, there's no real thought process behind this. You might be saying, well, who's behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin then? Who's the second striker? Is it Onana? Is it James Garner? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I just can't see Doucouré, James Garner and Onana all starting again. I think Garner Gay will be brought in for this one. As for who comes out, it then is difficult, isn't it? I think it's either Doucouré or James Garner who comes out, and I just think Doucouré is more likely to be given a rest because he's older. Obviously, he's less versatile than James Garner, and we probably need him more on Saturday. Some people would argue that and say we need James Garner more, but I think in those types of games as Saturday, I think Doucouré can be a big influence on it. And then the attack, I'm going with, on the left-hand side, I'm going to go with Arnold. I'm going to go with Dwight McNeil. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go with Arnold Danjuma. And up front, I'm going to go with Beto. Obviously, there's a shout for Yusuf Chamiti to be in there. Maybe off one of the wings, maybe even up front. You've obviously got Jack Harrison there. I do think Danjuma will play tomorrow. I think it's an opportunity for him to impress, and he needs to impress, by the way, if he's got any hope or admiration of being in this team and having a more sustained role in this team, which I think he does want. Then if he gets this opportunity tomorrow against the Premier League side, let's not forget, this isn't like a League 2 side, so the manager won't be watching going, well, yeah, you were good there, but you were only playing a League 2 side. This is a Premier League side, so if Danjuma turns up tomorrow as a worldie and scores a couple of goals, then he will have to be in the thinking for the team on Saturday against Brighton. I think Beto will start up front. As I said, it could be Chamiti. It's very unlikely to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think it makes sense to give Beto his opportunity. Similar with Danjuma, if he wants to be in this starting 11, if he wants to play in the Premier League week in, week out, then he needs to impress in the opportunities that he's given. And then I think it will be Dwight McNeil. I think he's probably the fitter out of him and Jack Harrison, and I don't think he will completely change the front three. I don't think he'll make 3 changes in there. So there you go. In terms of super sub, who do I think will be the first sub to come off of the bench? Difficult one. I'm gonna go with the pessimist in me wants to say Doucouré because we'll need him to come on and change the game. The optimist in me wants to say Chamiti because we'll be comfortable in the game where we make the substitution. I'm going to go Doucouré because I've just got a feeling that Garner Gay will have to come off earlier than what Beto would. And booking bonus, I will go with I'll go with Michael Keane because he's almost guaranteed, isn't he? So there you go. Save my starting 11, and obviously we'll come back to that tomorrow evening to see how many of them I have gotten right. If you haven't already submitted your starting 11, get over to Fan Up top line in the description and go and submit yours and follow us over there while you're there, and we're building our little community over there. So there you go. That is the Fan Hub predicted starting 11. Yeah, like I said, a big game tomorrow, a really, really important one, and one that if Everton could win, it would be massive for the momentum and obviously the confidence around the place, as well as the fact that it would mean we would progress into the next round of the competition, which is, as I said, imperative for a football club like Everton. You know, we should not be going this many years without winning a trophy, and therefore we can't afford to sit there and go, oh, it's only the Carabao Cup, forget about it. No, we should be wanting to win that competition every year. I get that. You know, as I said, the story's changed a little bit over the last couple of years because of relegation battles, but I think this early on in the season, that shouldn't even come into the thought process. If we get to January and we're still in the competition and we're in a relegation battle, then maybe that conversation is to be had, but at this point in the season, I think it's all about going out and winning tomorrow, and as I said, Burnley are a team that are really struggling at the moment. It doesn't mean we should underestimate them. It doesn't mean it will be an easy win. It won't be. It will be a difficult game, of course it will be, but it's one that I expect Everton to be able to turn up and win, I'll be honest, and hopefully we get that result. So there you go. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. It does only take a second if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with the instant match reaction and the player rating, so look out for those if you are new. As I said, please do subscribe. Big thanks for watching. Let's hope we can go out there, win and progress into the next round. Up the Toffees. See you later.